we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to work really hard to put that money and other money we've raised to very good use. And also, before I just wrap up with a couple thoughts on Tom's legacy, I don't think anybody has thanked Justin yet. Since he's wrapping up here, he came on, not long before this conference and just has done an amazing job pulling this together. And if you've done something like this before, you know what it takes. So thanks, Justin, for all your work, and looking forward to what you see, what we see you doing going forward. So I just wanted to give a little thought, tie Tom's legacy into the mission of the Minnesota Justice Research Center. Two things that in the many discussions I had with Tom over the years about this work and this organization in particular relate to his strongly held convictions that of the importance of two things that are at the heart of the mission for the Justice Research Center. One is the power of values. People act based on their values. And when it comes to issues of justice, Tom firmly believed, and I agree, that we can always find common values with people, even people we might strongly disagree with on other issues. This is a lot like what Professor Paul was just talking about bridging. But really, Tom talked about it as finding these common values. And he thought it was important that we put these values first and be transparent about them, and work with others in developing a vision of values for our justice system, so that we come together with them. And he also believed that there's a lot of room, as we've talked about, to improve our system when it comes to these values. For example, probably everybody can agree that access to justice should not depend on how much money someone has, but unfortunately it often does. The second point was that we won't know if what we're doing is aligned with our values if we don't measure the results. And that's why research is part of our title. It's why high quality research, data, and evaluation are so important. Unfortunately, what we've seen in criminal justice policies over the years is that we often act and create policies based on values, but based on values and perception or anecdote or the latest news story, rather than based on the reality or complete knowledge of consequences. And that's why the research component of this organization is so important. So you can see how Tom's vision helped to form our mission, which is through research, education, and policy development, we help our community create a criminal justice system that aligns with our commonly held values. With that, I'll leave you. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll let you wrap up, Justin.
Thank you so much, Mark. I just thought it was important to make sure that you got to say that, because the spirit that Tom Johnson and those values and those ideas really are at the core of what we do in this organization. For folks who want to learn more about the work that we're doing, feel free to visit our website, www.mnjrc.org. Feel free to make a donation while you're there. We're a nonprofit. We are very dependent on the contributions of others in order for us to get this some more research projects off the ground. I want to thank our sponsors today, Thomson Reuters, who is our lead sponsor, Best Buy, The Difference Principle, and sorry for that distraction, The Difference Principle and the Clean Slate Initiative. And then I also want to thank the legal community that has come out and supported this organization in the spirit of just supporting Tom Johnson, as well as just supporting the need for good research around this topic. To our panelists today, good grief, what amazing conversations. To Amy Klobuchar, who was clearly busy in Washington, thank you for taking time to put a video together for your good friend, Tom. And I want to do a very special shout out to N4 and Louis Blaze. Thank you so much for finding these talented young people to help set the stage and the context for the conversations we're having today. You cannot have a movement without art and young people, and we had both over these past 2 days, and that gives me hope. I will just close out with one quick thought, and then I would like to read something from John Powell's book. First, I often get asked, why Minnesota? And I want to be clear that Minnesota is one of those states that yes, you've heard the talking point that we are, turn out the most voters, have this great park system, have these wonderful lakes and all of that. And then we also have these racial disparities. But I believe in the people of the state, y'all. And I believe that we can build a bridge like John Powell is trying to teach us, that we can build a more inclusive society where we no longer put the issues that we're facing in society on someone else and pretend it doesn't affect us. The reality is that we are all in this together. And I promise you that in service to our community, that I will work to make sure the research, the education, the policies that we work on in this organization affirm that. Simply put, affirms the shared values that we share across the state. And I will leave you with this. I'm just going to read off my laptop here. Through our scientific and technological genius, we have made of this world a neighborhood, and yet we have not had the ethical commitment to make of it a brotherhood. But somehow and in some way, we have got to do this. We must all learn to live together as brothers, or we will all perish together as fools. We are tied together in a single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. And whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the way God's universe is made. This is the way it is structured. Those are the words of Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968 at the National Cathedral. And I think it's appropriate since this year has been compared to that year often. And I wanted to leave you with those words because I believe they are true. I also believe it is possible for you to be who you ought to be and for me to be who I ought to be, because ultimately our liberation is bound to each other. I will see you in the future. We will be sharing these videos and these conversations with community. We'll be having lots of community conversations and hopefully lots of research in the near future to produce and share with you, starting with that housing program you heard about today. And so take care, be good to each other, and stay safe as we dial back in the state of Minnesota. Thank you.